Hello everyone, it's Brie Wensleydale here. After a 4-month-long hiatus, this time I'm bringing you my new WAN 2.1 Infinite Talk workflow. It's really quite nice. Let's take a look. So for this workflow, you basically put in an image and one or several pieces of audio, and it outputs a talking avatar type video. And that's really it. Also, there's a prompting section as well. I've tried this workflow with a variety of styles, and it all seems to work pretty well. It does seem to cure the problem with various lip sync models where it skewed very much towards realistic styles. So previously with other types of lip sync like latent sync, I would take a anime character, but the lip sync mouth would have realistic teeth and lips, which looked really quite odd. But with Infinite Talk, it completely adapts to the style. To varying degrees of success, some styles work better than others. I think it's weakest in cartoon styles, and it's still strongest in semi-real and realistic styles, but overall it does a much better job across the whole stylistic spectrum. So here's a few demonstrations. There have been reports of perversion in the area. Sorry, my sword's bigger than yours. May God have mercy on your soul. I sure won't. So let's begin with the setup. Let's go to the models section. So in here we have WAN 2.1 AI2V, and then we have the WAN 2.1 Infinite Talk module. For these two, I'm using GGUF models. GGUF models work pretty well. I think maybe it's slightly more flexible than the FP8 model, since the FP8 model only has one level, whereas the GGUFs, you can kind of tweak what level of GGUF you want. In terms of the compatibility, for these, if you're using GGUF, both Infinite Talk and the core model needs to be GGUF. If you're using FP8, then they both need to be FP8. Aside from that, I also have the WAN 2.1 Lite X2V Acceleration LoRa, Clip H. Not that important. VE for WAN 2.1. All these models will be linked here in the model section. You can find all the links to the various models. And here I'm using Sage Attention. If you have that installed, go ahead and use it. If you don't, then you don't. I highly recommend Sage Attention, even if it's incredibly difficult to install. If you have Torch, use it. I don't, so I can't. In here I'm also using Block Swapped set to 40 to help ease the burden of VRAM. Other than that, that's pretty much it here. You can use either WAN 2.1 AI2V 720p or WAN 2.1 AI2V 480p. It depends on what resolution you want and what resolution your system can handle. I have a NVIDIA 4090 with 24 gigabytes of VRAM and then 64 gigabytes of Momo RAM. So I'm using the 720p model with Q8. If you have an NVIDIA card with 16 gigabytes of VRAM, then I suggest downgrading the GGUF model to, I'm guessing Q5 would be where you need to be. With regards to the GGUF models, you can mix and match if you like. You can put a Q4 here and a Q8 there. I'm sure the results will be terrible. Alright, let's take a look at the images section. This is extremely simple here. It's just an input image and then an image resize node. Alternatively, if you want to preserve the input image's aspect ratio, which you have the freedom to do, you can put the image through the scale image to total pixels node, and that will output something that preserves the aspect ratio. If you are using the 480p model, I suggest for 0.42 megapixels. If you're using the 720p model, I suggest 0.9. And if you want something in the middle, then use something in the middle. It really doesn't matter. The ideal resolutions for each model is noted in the notes. Alright, let's go on to the audio section here. The audio section I have, there's a model loading thing here. This is automatic, so just have it do its thing. You can load up to 4 different audio clips. I'm using one. I really didn't test 4. Here I've also included a single low video node, since for me, I'm using it with screen capture, so the audio is on top of video. So I need to yank the audio out. So there it is. There's an option for you. If you need more, then you just add the nodes that you require. The length of your video is determined by the length of the audio. I've capped the total frame count to 1000. You could adjust that to whatever you want. Technically it is infinite, but realistically it's limited by VRAM. It just takes an extremely long time to render out a high resolution video of a very long piece of audio. It's doable. I've had like 40 seconds rendered at 720p full resolution, and it takes like an hour for me. Additionally to this, there's another piece that is somewhat related to the audio. It's this node right here. It's called Multi-Talk Silent Embeds. This is a very special node, and I think it offers some functionality that is really seen nowhere else. What this node does is that it completely ignores lip sync, and most importantly, it closes the character's mouth for the entirety of the video. This is a precious and rare ability that I've seen nowhere else in any other nodes. As you know, as many of you will know, Wan and Kling and Hunyuan and all of these video generation models, they generate characters, and almost all of them always are yapping and talking and just never stopping. It's just a problem that is always there, and this node solves it. It closes the character's mouth, which, you know, maybe you need for that video, or maybe you need to make a resulting video that you can then carry on and do lip sync elsewhere. Either way, it's very useful. If you need it, run the number of frames through here, and then run multi-talk embed into the one video sampler. If you don't need it, then run multi-talk embeds from the multi-talk wave to back embeds into the sampler. If you've used my other workflows, you'll notice that the prompt generation section, which I usually put here, is missing. And that's because 2.1 Infinite Talk really likes either really simple prompts or prompts in a very specific format. 2.1 Infinite Talk does support a much more complex type of prompting that offers a greater degree of control. Basically, you can split up your prompt with these bars. You should still stick to something fairly simple, like one sentence simple prompts. So what 1 Infinite Talk does is that it splits the audio up into these little chunks called frame windows, which you can determine here. Frame window size is 81. The one video normal generation, the ideal length is 81 frames. So that's what 1 Infinite Talk splits it up into. You can increase that, you can decrease that, you can control it however you like. It splits it up into these frame windows, and each subdivided prompt is applied to a specific frame window. You can even output these by themselves if you like. It'll output one long video, which is outputted at the end of the workflow, and it'll also output all these little ones for each specific frame window. This type of control is actually, it's fine, it's good that it's there, but it's difficult to control because you have to match the automatically generated frame windows to your audio, and it might not match the actions you want. But you do have that degree of control. If the number of frame windows is more than the amount of subdivided prompts in your prompt, then the last frame window prompt will just repeat throughout the rest of the video generation. So in this example here, she looks away from the camera with an embarrassed expression. This one will repeat for all the remaining prompt windows. Alright, with regard to optimization, you'll notice that here's my standard set of optimizations, and you'll notice that all the nodes are disconnected. That's because 1 Infinite Talk does not really work with any of these optimizations. I'm keeping these in the workflow because I'm hoping that eventually Kijai might fix this, then they might work in the future, or maybe some of them will work in the future. With regards to the sampler, I suggest not touching any of the settings. This controls the seed, very important if you want to experiment with things. I have a color match node here. I've turned it off. I don't find it very useful. If you want to use it, all you gotta do is connect it here to Video Combine and connect it here. One funny thing is that here's a color match node. In here, in the, I think it's here. There it is. One video long AI2V multi-talk or Infinite Talk also has a color match function right here, and it's basically the same exact thing as the color match node. So if you want it activated here, maybe you can have it here. One last note. 1 Infinite Talk outputs at 25 frames per second instead of one video is standard 16 frames per second. So that's something to note. If you have any questions, there are a stupendous amount of notes scattered around the workflow. You can read them, you can delete them, you can do whatever. I hope it's not overwhelming. I personally find this workflow extremely useful, and I'm going to use it for all of my subsequent videos. It's just really rather nice. I like it a lot. Alright, that's that. Thanks, and have fun. Bye-bye.